To build a ballpark on the Strip, the Oakland A's are asking $395 million from state lawmakers in financing. So lawmakers tonight say they're drawing a line around $195 million. That's a $200 million gap that we're talking about. So they could make up some of that difference with Clark County bonds. $125 million has been floated as a possibility. So lawmakers could ask for it or mandate it.
To pay for a ballpark at the site of the Tropicana, those working with the A's on a bill say there's still a divide to make a deal for a tax district.
Dollars and cents, how much money is it going to cost us? How much money are we going to get back?
Commissioner Seegerblum confirmed $125 million in county bonds has been thrown out as a possibility. It would bridge the gap closer between the $395 million ask from the A's and $195 million in tax breaks on the table from state lawmakers. Seegerblum says lawmakers could ask for it or mandate. He hopes not, wanting to see the bill and have a public discussion how locals can benefit.
We're going to look at this very closely. If it doesn't make sense, at least I personally will not support it.
Giving county bonds is a weighty decision to make sure a borrower can pay. If there's a scenario the A's can't pay, Clark County must pull from debt service reserves. If reserves run out, the county could raise property taxes. That would require a 2/3 vote by the legislature. Governor Lombardo's office says there would be no new taxes and that would be vetoed. During the pandemic, Clark County had to dip into its reserves to pay for the Allegiant Stadium bonds. The county was not collecting room tax.
Clark County has the highest bond rating in southern Nevada. It is so incredibly well run. The resources are guarded with a real jealous approach. And so we're not going to waste anything. We're not going to throw anything away.
Chair Jim Gibson recently told Fox 5 bonds are scrutinized. There is scrutiny. How many tourists and locals will come to games, plus how many other live events a ballpark can attract.
I'm not prepared to support taxpayer dollars without fully understanding what the request is and what the ask is and what the impact is on the people who live here.
So here's what the county had to say. We continue to work diligently to protect the taxpayers of Clark County, as well as the finances of Clark County government in our ongoing negotiations with the A's. When could we see a bill? Could we see a bill? Senator Hammond is optimistic and says possibly Monday. Governor Lombardo's office hopes next week. Others privy to talks tell me if there is a bill, there should be a movement from the A's if they aren't willing to invest more money.